since COVID, Gen Z have become the biggest employee and biggest spending group. And the following generation will be the same, but they have had access to information at their fingertips. They are used to knowing things really quickly. So what they value is honesty, transparency, doing good. And this is all coming into the workplace. So if you were as a business hiding things, they won't trust you. So they won't work for you and they won't buy your products.
Yeah. You know, if you're not creating an internal culture where there's trust and transparency, then you're never going to have that solidity as an entire workforce. The more transparent you can be externally, the more engaged your customers are going to be with your brand, and the more brand loyalty you're going to have, and the more customers you should arguably get being interested in your business and what it is that you do. Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Best in Class, the podcast. Absolutely delighted to have Richard Dickson from Plate Green with me on this episode. Richard, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
No problem. It's good to finally have you on. I feel like we've been trying to get this in the diary for probably about 6 months now. Yeah. And yeah, just for kind of listeners' benefit, I approached Richard through LinkedIn, connected with him, just really out of kind of interest and wanting to learn a bit more about you and the business. And we had a conversation, and I love it. I love you as an individual. I love everything about what you do from where I am kind of personally. Everything that you do aligns with kind of my values, I guess is probably the best way of saying it, as a person. And I remember that very first conversation we had. We were limited on time, but I could have kept chatting to you forever, because I remember, I'm going to digress slightly. I remember one of the things we spoke about, and I hope we don't follow this as a conversation. I need to bring us back on point. We were talking about some work you've been doing with a supermarket, and they wanted to kind of improve something around like customer experience, and they were looking at all head office stuff. And I said, well, you go around to, like, I don't know, a supermarket, and the people you have most contact with are the people stacking the shelves, or certainly if you go around, like, I don't know, if I go around like the local Tesco, it's the people running around doing the kind of personal shopping. But they never smile at you and they don't really engage with you, but they're the people from that organization who have the most interaction with the customers. And we ended up talking about kind of the work that you'd done and around that. And I just found that really interesting. And that was just one example of the many stuff that we've spoken about, because it got me thinking about, you know, businesses and actually a head office can want to do some work, but the customer never visits head office. They're all out in these, you know, stores, or the touch point the customer has can be very, very different to what they're thinking at head office. And actually the customer wasn't getting anywhere near the benefit of what they were trying to achieve. And from a kind of what I'm trying to do on this podcast, all of that kind of got my mind going. So anyway, I will get it off the bat straight away. For anybody who is interested in sustainability in any guise or level of interest, please follow Richard on LinkedIn. You post some really, really fantastic educational stuff as well. You know, for me as an individual who wants to become more sustainable in my life, you've educated me a lot through your posts over the last 6 months. Things like sun cream, toothpaste. It goes on and on and on. It's not, you kind of pick little topics, don't you, and kind of put spotlights on it. So yeah, anybody who's interested in wanting to be more sustainable, or have a better or reduce carbon footprint, or better impact on the planet, you're a great person who just kind of puts these little tidbits out there, should we call them?
Yeah, well, that's how people learn. You learn in bite-sized chunks. I think one of the problems with the industry is it becomes overwhelming and it just causes people not to act. And my whole goal was to make it easy to change. My background, psychology and behavior change, and then training and development in retail. And I wanted to create a business that could create real change that's stuck. And
Well, you segued that lovely, absolutely beautifully. So for everybody listening or watching on YouTube, give us an oversight of kind of what it is that your business does. So you've kind of briefly touched upon your background,
mm,
but tell us about what it is that the business does. I think it very much leans into your passion. If you want to touch upon a little bit about yourself, because I think that's quite poignant when we're talking about the business, because again, you talk about that a lot on LinkedIn. So yeah, just give us a bit of education about you and the business and what it is that you do.
okay, I'll start with me very briefly. I have a background in psychology. I studied psychology and philosophy at university, discovered there were issues with the way the world works, both finance, education, politics, all taking us down a path that we probably don't want to be going down.
We
Discovered
haven't got we
conscious,
haven't got conscious capitalism is because again, a lot of
yeah,
people I think it's a term that you can kind of assume what it might mean, but it's better kind of fully explained.
yeah. So standard capitalism is purely about profits. It doesn't take anything else into account. It doesn't take into account the finite globe we live on. It doesn't take into account the workers that make the profit. And generally, you find the more profit that's made, the more people are exploited further down that chain. And what conscious capitalism is about is it's still capitalism, but you take into account things like the planet, communities that you work in. And it's an evolution of that system.
So it's
Um,
making money, but doing it the best
it,
possible way you
yeah,
can do to
yeah,
look after the planet and supply chain work employees at whatever point they are,
yeah,
that sort of stuff.
yeah. And it's really interesting because I late life diagnosed neurodiverse during my son's diagnosis, and I've never processed dopamine properly. So that system of conscious capitalism, actually doing good and being able to build something that does good, create dopamine for me. In my previous, before I set this business up and worked in the not-for-profit world, I was doing loads of stuff for charity, like jumping out of planes and having boxing matches and getting in the cage and doing stupid stuff. But that got me the dopamine. Whereas now every day gets me because of the business I've set
Yeah,
up.
you can't jump out of a plane and do boxing matches every day, can you?
No, you can't. You definitely can't. And Play It Green. It came out of I took a job at a not-for-profit planting trees and educating in agroforestry and creating businesses for area-reliant communities in Tanzania. Um, Helped scale that and saw the impact that it did, but was really uncomfortable with the way it was run because everything was hidden and I couldn't tell customers how much the actual trees cost to plant and things like that. And I also saw that there was a lot of profit to be made, and I've seen that with all the organisations that just plant trees, that they make a huge profit, which would make me uncomfortable as a conscious capitalist. It's sending the wrong message. I also discovered during that journey that trees aren't the answer. They might have been 30 years ago, but it has to be, just when it comes to planting, it has to be nature repair. It has to be land, coast and sea, a holistic approach. But you also need to reduce footprints, educate, change culture in business, and at home. Um, and so I set a business up to originally target individuals and families. We launched 4 years ago, 2021. We launched to the public, and then a business signed up, and that's where Play It Green from today comes from. Because within a couple of weeks, and what we did, sorry, I should explain. We have a subscription service. It's $5 a month. We send a weekly newsletter that educates you on home sustainability. Originally, we planted it was originally mangroves, but we now do sea kelp, agroforestry trees, and mangroves, to rebalance a personal footprint. And then we give 10% of turnover to charity. And from that £5, you choose where your 50p went. But when the business signed up, the staff loved it. They loved the education and the fact that they were able to do something that resonated and shared, as you say, align with their values. But then they asked the business what they were doing. And the business
Mm.
wasn't doing anything. And they only came back to us and said, can you help? And we helped. We got them a footprint report. They got a reduction plan and switched to green energy. and they put this on the website and they message their customers that we're taking this journey, and they won a sale that they've been trying for ages, and it became a differentiator for them. And it happened again. Another business signed up and asked, can we do more? And we said, we've got a Google Drive folder we just put together for this other business. And it just evolved from there. We got investment very early on to help us build a business platform that was suitable for businesses when they sign up. And what we've done is built a community of about 250 businesses that have our workforce subscription. The content has evolved as we've taken feedback from customers. So we now do good news on a Monday because it creates inspiration, and the mainstream media never tells you all the good stuff that's happening in the world around sustainability. You'd think the world was burning and going to end, but actually technology is so far ahead. There's solar panels that work at night. We've just partnered with a company that makes these smart bins that compact the trash, tell the city when they need emptying, so you don't have to go every day. Sort it into different waste streams. It's incredible. So we doubled down on business. We got a network of experts and products and services that were sustainable that we could signpost to. We partnered with a footprint reporting company, so our partners could all get that footprint report done and get their reduction plan in place. And we've grown to 9 countries, 250 businesses. We got B Corp 2 years ago. One of the proudest things I haven't mentioned about conscious capitalism is transparency. And this was, I touched on that, I was uncomfortable in the not-for-profit world with the lack of it. So what we do is we publish our accounts, we publish receipts, board reports. Our nature repair process is all blockchain protected. So we know who's planted what, where and when through our partner, how many hours of employment it's generated, what growth there's been, what mortality there's been. So completely transparent, long-term monitored. And
why do the transparency thing then? So, within this I love what you do. I absolutely love it. I can't emphasize that enough. You are my kind of guy, you're my kind of business, but that's my bias coming through into that. Within the kind of keep it neutral and within the true format of this podcast, it's about business excellence and putting a spotlight on what is it that an organization does well and what could other business leaders then learn from that. And I want to just focus on that a little bit. Why is transparency important? Is it a personal mission for you and it makes you feel good? Or have you seen or was it a conscious decision from a kind of external perspective of the business?
Yeah. So originally, a lot of this comes from my neurodiversity and diving down tunnels and never coming out until I know everything.
Figuratively.
Yeah, figuratively. But one of the things I've seen and the patterns that I recognize is corporates hiding things, charities hiding things, and that capitalism that's not evolved is about, I say, just making money. And people, coming out of the Thatcher era, people would sell their, grandmother to make profit. It was really, and I grew up in that time, and it made me really uncomfortable. So that was from a personal perspective, and one of the reasons we started Play It Green, to be transparent. But what we've seen, and this is
as a founder-led business, it's always going to have some mirror of your own personal values, morals, and ethics, because it's your company. You want to run it the way that you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. But I know it's not just that. There's not. There's a business case. Yeah.
There is a business case. Since it started just before COVID, but since COVID, Gen Z have become the biggest employee and biggest spending group.
So when we talk about Gen Z, they're the kind of age force up to the age. They're up to age about 28 now, aren't they? I think.
Yes. Yeah. and the following generation will be the same, but they have had access to information at their fingertips. They are used to knowing things really quickly. I mean, you think back to a kid, if you wanted to know the salary of a CEO of a business or who the CEO even was, how would you find it? Whereas today, you got on your phone and 30 seconds later, you know. So what they value is honesty, transparency, experience, doing good, nature, well-being, and this is all coming into the workplace. So if you were as a business hiding things, they won't trust you. So they won't work for you and they won't buy your products. And it's
I think we see
future
that
proof.
even there's always skepticism about what's going on in the boardroom and are they
Mm-hmm.
being truthful with us as a workforce? And it's just it's an extension of that, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's about saying,
Yeah.
well, you know, if you're not creating an internal culture where there's trust and transparency, then you're never going to have that solidity as an entire workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really the extension of it, saying, well, the more transparent you can be externally, the more engaged your customers are going to be with your brand, and the more brand loyalty you're going to have, and the more customers you should arguably get being interested in your business and what it is
Correct.
that you do.
And the problem again with capitalism as it was is it's short term. You're looking at the next quarter's profits. You're looking at your next year's plan. Whereas the transparency aspect starts a bit of a culture change within the way you run your business, and it becomes something that's long term. And it's the same with sustainability. It's a long term thing that becomes part of your culture and the way you do things. You're future proofing your business by doing it because this isn't going away. That transparency piece is going to be expected more and more. If you want to be in, you touched on supermarkets earlier. One of the things that's happening is supply chain transparency is becoming massive. If you want to sell your product to a supermarket, you're part of their supply chain. If your product isn't sustainable, transparent, and you know where it comes from and that sort of thing, they will stop selling your product because that's what they need to do to comply with the law. And therefore, it's going to become more and more a legislated thing. You're going to have to report on your carbon footprint soon as a SME, as an SME, a small to medium enterprise, rather than just as a corporate. That legislation's coming as well. So again, be transparent now, and you are ahead of the game in the future.
Fantastic. I think it's very, very valid. But and right, I'm gonna use that as a
Mm,
springboard to the next thing that I want to talk about. So there's going to be people who listen and buy into that and think, okay, I'm going to go away and I'm going to consider this because I'm open to these ideas and change.
mm,
There's going to be another group of people who are going to be very skeptic around this and say, okay, yeah, like the Donald Trump maybe
mhm,
type person who go, well, climate isn't an issue. It's all nonsense. I'm going
yeah.
to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to focus on my capitalism, shall we say. I'm going to focus on my profits, and I'm happy with the way I am. Now, I went to a conference earlier on in the year that was it was a sustainability conference, but a large part of the conversation was around renewable energy.
Mhm,
And the one thing that I took away from that conference was um, where renewable energy used to be a choice for organisations who wanted to be more sustainable and be more green, shall we say. We're now at a point that it now just makes business sense to utilize renewable energy because it is cheaper.
mhm,
So if you're just looking at it from a capitalist perspective, you are going to be more profitable
mhm,
by using clean renewable energy than you are traditional fossil fuels,
yeah.
whatever they may be. So the argument position has very much changed, and I found that a bit of a revelation moment to
Mhm,
say, right, so it's now just a more compelling argument than ever before. What you've done is you've embraced this kind of skepticism to a degree, and you said, okay, if you're not interested in the fluffy stuff, let's go with the hard facts. So there is, and I'm going to set you up for this, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to set you up. There is benefit in organizations pursuing this avenue, whether it's through yourself or whether it's through other organizations or their own means or whatever it may be. Talk to me about why an organization should start to look at their sustainability. You gave us a little bit of that kind of case study about the first organization, and it was almost kind of a sliding doors moment for your business that their employees, were pushing in the company saying, well, what is the company doing here? Why should companies give any damn towards all of this? How can it benefit them?
Yeah. Do you know, it's a really good question. I got asked that 8 years ago by the CFO of a large restaurant group. And I didn't have an answer for him. And I said, if you're only interested in the bottom line, maybe we shouldn't be working together. It's totally changed since then. I mean, literally, it's not even a generation. It's 7 years. I think COVID speeded things up. But we've touched on future-proofing. There is legislation coming. If you embrace, and I had this conversation with a company that reached out yesterday, and I spoke to them today, and they've already got a footprint report in place and a reduction plan in place. And they want to do more, and they're only a small business, but they knew, like I've said, the legislation is coming for small business. So when their competitors haven't done it, they're going to play catch up. The costs are going to go up because the demand's going up. So it's future-proofing your business. You've touched on energy is cheaper, but sustainability is about reducing resource intensiveness, which reduces costs. It's about clever waste management, which reduces costs. So there's a cost saving. If you look at the research that KPMG and a lot of the other large organizations have done into
the consultancies,
into employee behavior and consumer behavior, 67% of Gen Z and millennial employees look at a company's sustainability record before applying for a job.
And I think people can dismiss all of this. It's too easily dismissed. If you're a business leader, you have to. It's like AI. You cannot ignore AI. If you're going to ignore AI and just go, we don't need that in our business, you are putting a death sentence on your organization. If you are looking at the longevity of your organization, struggle to say that, organization, you have to embrace AI in whatever capacity. You have to. Otherwise, you put in the dinosaur stamp on your own business. The same applies to this. So if you want longevity, you need to wake up and smell the roses and start to consider this. If you're still struggling to embrace all of that and just, I'm going to give it all the two fingers, no matter what these two guys on this podcast are saying. You told me customers win bids, they win tenders, their recruitment is easier, they retain staff better, so let's talk about all of that, because if you only care about the profitability and success of your business, and this just happens to be a byproduct, you happen to appease your customers better and become stickier as a brand, why wouldn't you want that? But if you're still not leaning into it and don't care about it, going down a route of sustainability and looking at how your business can be more sustainable, reduce its carbon footprint, be more transparent, look after the planet, whatever phrase you want to stick to it, you can actually just win as a business anyway, can't you? If you're just going to use it as a loophole activity, as a springboard, it can still work in that, and you get all the other stuff if you care about it or not anyway.
As long as you do what you need to do transparently, it works. It really does. I mean, I don't want to name names because I'm not asked the permission, but we've got a customer who their CEO said to me, I don't care. I really don't, but I know my staff will like it. So we're going to sign up for the workforce subscription. The staff did like it, and they have a software platform for a certain industry, and the staff ended up building as a plugin to plant trees with every transaction that firm did. Their customers loved that plugin. Their customers loved the plugin. And they ended up getting 7-figure investments, and they've gone from a UK company to a global company. And that's the CEO. He's still not big on climate, but he knows that it's good for his business.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the speakers at the sustainability event I went to. They provide renewable energy, and they said, we've got a customer. He doesn't give a cat's hell about saving the planet, but it was cheaper to have renewable energy, so that's the reason he went for it. So great, he's doing all this good, but just for him, it was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you care about it or not, you still can't dismiss it, because your workforce and your customers want it,
Mm-hmm.
and you will gain investment. You've told me about clients that you've worked with who have won tenders by doing this. They've had customers approach, or new clients approach them, because they're seen to be aligned better now.
Yeah.
I think if you want to go for any government tenders, you have to now have this. Some form of kind of or a sustainability strategy.
Sustainability and social values about 30% of government tenders now.
That's what I mean.
It's
the world is changing. Whether you agree with it or not, the world is absolutely changing. I would love anybody who is a skeptic to have their mind changed around all of this, but we can't necessarily change individuals' own perceived values or decisions. But if you don't care about it all, it still just makes the best business sense, I think.
Well, it's funny. There was a philosophical argument of should you believe in God or not. So if you believe in God and he exists, that's great. If you believe in God and he doesn't exist, you're not really lost out. But if you don't believe in God and he exists, you're screwed. So the odds are you should play the believe God trick. And it's the same with sustainability. Whether you believe in it or not, it's good for business. And you're increasing the chances of your business long-term success.
It's a very good analogy.
Yeah,
perfect. Sadly, we've run out of time. I feel like we could have gone on and on talking about all of this, but we've run out of time, unfortunately. However, I have a little bit of a tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest. So Ben Duckworth from Heat Engineering Software was my last guest, and he's left a question for you. So Ben has said, within your career, what is the moment you're most proud of?
I'll be there in 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
What's that then?
I was going to say, I would have said making a conscious capitalist business that gives 10% of turnover away when no one's earning any money in the business. Turning that profitable was my greatest achievement, but it's not. It's in about 3.5 weeks.
But you achieved that. Now you've got a new accolade.
Yeah. We're about to hit 1 million nature-based solutions planted.
Which so what is that? Nature-based solutions. What
so
does
that basically I touched on it before. The holistic way that we plant. So we don't just do trees. We do a mix of trees, mangroves, and sea kelp. And a plant is called it's a nature-based solution. Okay. It's a solution to repair nature.
So there's 1 million. We're almost at the kind of.
We're about 964,000 as of today. So
Incredible.
it's really exciting, and it's created thousands of hours of employment and created economies for entire communities as well. So there's this brilliant knock-on effect.
And the knock-on effect does not surprise me, because again, the type of individual you are, full assessment and understanding and audit of, if I'm going to do this, who those kind of partner organizations that I'm going to want to work with, because they will have that ripple effect of not only planting trees, but kind of the mangroves and the sea kelp and the benefit that can have into those kind of local areas, either environmentally or economically as well. Incredible. Well, I can't wait to see that post on LinkedIn, because I'm sure there'll be balloons and party poppers and everything else going off. Amazing. Absolutely. Richard, thank you so much. If anybody is obviously interested in wanting to work with you, or I guess it's just a conversation to begin with about how would we do this? What's it going to cost my business? How can, what's it all going to look like? What's the website?
It's playitgreen.com.
Perfect. And this will all go out on LinkedIn. I will tag you on LinkedIn. So
Amazing.
there'll be like 2 weeks worth of kind of content going out. So anybody just kind of or just go Richard Dickson, Manchester on LinkedIn, and I'm sure they'll find you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.